We're gonna do the Mount Rushmore of everything in Melee. So we're gonna look at characters, we're gonna look at players, TOs, commentators, whatever we can think of. Let's just be thorough. I did some premeditation, but no definitive list. So we're gonna argue it out. We're gonna go forward, okay? The overall players. I mean, it's pretty easy, right? It's also, before we get too far into it, none unordered. Are we gonna go impact or contributions? We're gonna be trying to find like a balanced approach. I think especially once we start going down the tier list, we can't just talk about tournament results. A lot of characters don't have great tournament results. I also think that there are more things to the game and to contributions to a character than just how well you did in bracket. We're looking more holistically. We're looking contributions to the character, people who shaped the community and cultural identity of that main, people who made progress, people who communicated information, ambassadors to the character. And then also tournament results, who got the most dubs, who was the sweatiest, what are the the landmark moments for each character. With all that being said, I think it would feel wrong to not use like the generally agreed upon top, goats of the game. At the very least, the top three are not up for much debate. Obviously Mango, Armada, again, unordered, Hungry Box as our top three. And so now our fourth, we have pretty much two options, right? We have Zane and Ken. You think Mewtwo King? Mewtwo King in a holistic, broad player. So those are the three options. I think it's probably Ken. I think if we're talking about the winningest players, then I think Zane starts to also come into this conversation because of the level of competition. But I think that this kind of list is going to favor legacy a lot. There wouldn't be a Zane without a Ken. He paved the way for so much of the game. Are we making different categories beyond player? Yeah, sure. We can do commentators, right? I think there's three pretty easy answers here. Scar, it's Toph, and it's homemade waffles. And then number four is where it gets a little tricky. I think there's three candidates. Prague, who doesn't get the acknowledgement that he probably deserves, but was the core commentator in a lot of historic sets, the voice of the pre-dock explosion of the game, and the first little bit of that dock explosion. There is Vish, one of the most recognizable modern voices of Melee. He was there during the peak. He's still like a top level commentator, still more active than certainly Scar, but also Toph. Really consistent commentator, well respected. Chillin was a very prolific commentator. Same with Lovage. It could be Chillin or Wife. True. I think that Chillin and Wife as commentary it's so tied to their roles in the Smash Dock, in particular with Wife. I think it would be hard to argue that Wife didn't carry the Smash Dock a little bit. He was very articulate, so passionate, really clearly communicated like the appeal of the game and of the community. If we're looking at their larger impact, I think there's a great case for Wife, just as an orator of the community. But in terms of actually commentating sets, maybe not the same legacy. Phil also great. Maybe this is not fair, but I think that he is so worthy of an HM, but so tied to Homemade Waffles as a duo, but doesn't have like the longevity and the modern career of Waff. Has been the voice of a lot of very great moments, but didn't have as much of a commentary identity on his own outside of his duo with Waff. All people who I think can end up in the HM category. Right? I think this makes a lot of sense. Overall characters. We're going to get meta before we get into the characters. Which characters are the most important to Melee? Easy one I think is Fox. I think Falco also has to be in there. Falco being the most popular character, kind of the protagonist character of Melee. Most of the game's most popular players have played Falco historically. He's always been right near the top. I think it would be hard not to put Marth in there. Marth has two of the top players of all time, one of the most popular characters, these three being the most popular characters. I think the fourth spot is the tough one because there's very clearly three characters that could be in the fourth spot. Falcon, it could be Sheik, and it could be Puff. So here are the cases for the three of them. Puff is a character with an incredibly high amount of top level representation. Two different players were the best in the world for multiple years using that character, Mango and Hbox. She has been a mainstay in top 8s for most of the game's competitive lifespan. Very divisive character. Both of the game's most popular players in a modern lens have played the character at one point. Falcon, I think, is very reflective of the idea, the identity of Melee. He's a very popular casual character, very popular character with people just starting out. In a lot of ways feels like Mr. Melee, but maybe doesn't have that same competitive legacy. Sure, he's won Super Majors. Sure, he's very common at the top level, but much less so than the other characters we've talked about, and doesn't punch as high. But he is Mr. Melee, or Mr. Smash, really. But maybe we are conflating Mr. Smash with Mr. Melee, because Fox is Mr. Melee. Maybe Captain Falcon is just Mr. Smash Bros. And I think Sheik, her relationship with the competitive landscape can be kind of understated. Sheik, for a long time, I think up until this year, was the second most represented character in the top 100. Some of the game's best players have played Sheik, all the way back at the beginning with like Vociferous, up until now, you know, with Plup and J-Mook. She's such a mainstay in top level competition. At the beginning of the game was considered one of the game's best, if not the best character. I think she's here. You think fuck Falco? I think Falco is too tied to the most popular moments of the game, the most iconic moments, not including Falco is wrong. It's probably Puff, but I think there's a very strong argument for Falcon. Falcon is representative of what we want Melee to be. He's fast, he's dynamic, he's explosive, and probably the second most fan favorite character after Falco. Love it or hate it, Puff is so tied to the competitive identity of Melee at this point. I think Puff is here. You want to know what the best moves in Melee are? Because it's going to be Fox Shine, number 1. 2, Falco Shine. 3, it's going to be Rest. Number 4, probably Knee, Peach Down Smash HM. Falco Laser, Laser also in here. Marth Dare only as part of the Ken combo, right? Fox Up Smash, Marth F Smash. Marth Grab, actually a great pick, but I think it's pretty clearly these 4. Look, if we're talking about iconic moves that have shaped Melee, there is no argument. It's these 4. These are the moves. Can Shine count as 1? They're so different. I get it, but that's like saying, oh, you know, can Ganondorf back air and Falcon back air be the same? Because the animation is the same. Why don't we just make Sheik Nair and Samus Nair the same? No, they're different moves. This is unordered. But even if it was ordered, I think we're pretty much looking at it. But I think this is it, man. I think this is the list. It's Fox, Falco, Rest, and Knee. I don't even know what else could come close, honestly. Let's start looking at characters. What are we doing first? I think we start, you want to start with Yoshi? We can start with Yoshi. As a man with some skin in the game, I think Yoshi is pretty easy. Amsa is a pretty big no-brainer. Similarly, I think that Nebby is an easy 2. Now, we have some questions after that. The only other person to make top 100 with Yoshi is Egg Money. So Egg Money is an early contender. We also have Sashimi, who wrote some Yoshi information, the Yoshi doc. She is potentially deserving of a spot just from contributions to the character. I wouldn't have learned Yoshi without Sashimi. Other people who you could put on this list are, I think Whiskers had a lot of legacy. I think Peanut Phobia, just for longevity, being for a long time the best North American Yoshi player. Vector Man, Nez, you know, strong players for a long time. Fumi, an old school Japanese Yoshi, big contribution to the culture. Santiago's Yoshi Lil Fumi was named after Fumi, obviously. Personally, I think that it's Egg Money, and I think that it's Sashimi. Fumi's the other question, though, because he was like the progenitor, maybe to the point where it's influential enough not to include Jarvis. You know what? Let's do a little Googling. Let's look up Fumi Melee. Let's see what Fumi did. 18 years ago, 2007. Just check this combo video. Okay, it looks like me. Okay. 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 That was great. I'm comfortable with this. So I think Fox 3 are pretty easy. And then I think the 4th spot is tough. I think the first 3 that are pretty locked in are Mango, Cody, and I think Leffen. And then I think our 4th spot, the 2 people I think that could be in this spot are Chillin' Dude and Hax Money. The cultural contributions of Hax with 20XX as a movement shaped the way the past decade of Melee has looked. The way that people talk about Fox, the way that people look at Fox as a character are massive contributions. SFAT, HM, really true. But I think that if we're looking at this in like a holistic way, he was also a really strong high-level competitor, but I think that he shaped a lot of the discourse. Chillin' dude, same kind of thing. We wouldn't have one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic moment in Melee history is a Fox Ditto, including Leffen and Chillin'. He did come up with up throw up air, I think. He is like the OG Fox main. I'm gonna give it to Hacks. 20XX has been such a legacy on the game. The other two don't really need much explanation. Mango is Mango. Cody is the only ever player to be the #1 ranked player with solo Fox. That is a massive accomplishment. And then Leffen kind of, you know, breathed the whole modern sensibility into Fox. He was, for a long time, the solo Fox main. He was the God Slayer, of course, but then also brought in a lot of optimization, a lot of fighting game sensibilities into Melee in general, but also into Fox. We can just put Chillin' here, honestly. I think Chillin' is like a decided 5th place here, so I'm comfortable leaving him there. Marth, there's 5 spots. We don't have to argue. We don't have to mince words about the first couple, okay? So it's Zane, Ken, Mewtwo King, and then I think the 4th spot is a little bit harder. One of 2 people. I think it's either PPMD or it's Azen. It has to be one of those guys, really. Yeah, no, it's actually net 1, 2, 3. I'm fine with saying, oh, PP dual mained and hit a shorter career. He's also on the Falco list already. Let's spread the wealth a little bit. Let's say this, you know? But the Falco list, we can jump right to. This one is, nobody's going to debate this. No spoilers here. Probably has to be there. And then I think we got PC Chris. And then the 4th spot's a little bit weird, right? Like, I think West Balls is a big one. I think Bomb Soldier also really strong candidate for this spot. Zoo, really strong. Falco, who I think kind of gets understated in how good he was. It probably goes to either to West Balls or to Bomb Soldier, both of whom I think inspired a generation of Falco. Because of, you know, some contemporary circumstances, I think that people kind of understate the legacy of West Balls in terms of fandom. I think it's probably West. And then I think the HMs are Bomb Soldier and Zoo. You know what? I also think that Ginger, you know, really defined like a lot of modern Falco sensibilities, and the way that modern Falco players learn the character, I think is indebted to Ginger. This is maybe unflattering. There's a lot of people who think that Falco is overrated, who learned how to play Falco from West Balls, and there's a lot of people who think that Falco's the best in the game, who are, you know, devout followers of Ginger. Yeah, I mean, Ginger is the patron saint of laser and of box Falco for some reason. Maybe a divisive legacy, excuse me, but he is pretty influential. Top's tech skill demons? Yeah, we could do that. That's fun. Let's do that. Give me a second. So there's some old school guys like Silent Wolf and Lovage. You know, their combo videos are crazy. I get saying Wizzy as a sleeper tech skill demon, but I think when we think tech skill, I think it has to be ahead of all else. When I think tech skill, I think Relno. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I think #1 is Relno. He has to be on this list. If you guys haven't, let me pull up a Relno. So for context, this is an 8-year-old video. It's called Godspeed, 2017. Yeah, have you not seen this shit? Look at this shit. Like, dude, for the time, this is ridiculous. No, this is impressive now. This is fucked, dude. This shit is absolutely ridiculous. Like, he's cooking. Like, a lot of this stuff looks like stuff that, like, okay, like, come the fuck on. No, this is, for the era to 2017, this is actually ridiculous. Like, come on. Dude. Like, people can't do this shit now. No, this is still a crazy Melee vid. This is like still, like, it feels like TAS, man. This is fucked. So I think Relno has to go on the list. Part of what characterizes as somebody as a tech skill demon is that they are tech skill above all else. There are top level players who can do some incredible things in the game, but it's part of a larger kit. I feel like a tech skill demon is so disproportionately connected to tech skill. Like, it is the most impressive thing about them. Because, like, quietly, quietly, Cody has incredible tech skill, but he's also a top level competitor. I think Cyrox is an easy one here. Not that he wasn't a great player, but like he's in this conversation. Yeah, we'll put Hacks in here. I also think Daladex is up there. Silent Wolf is there. Ice is low key up here. Like I think that Ice's tech skill gets underrated. Is there a Falco? If there is a Falco, it's probably Bob. And look, these are not the fastest players. There are players who are functionally fast. And this is also my hesitation with Hacks. Hacks' tech skill, you know, it was always in pursuit of punish and of stretching the character. Whereas this shit is just being stupid. Because I think it's about the spirit. This is like Bab, you know, Gumi, also a good pick. What is this? It's mostly gonna be Spaceys. And I think that that's okay. Because I think that those are the characters that enable just pushing buttons. I mean, this is pretty fucked. This is pretty fucked too. I don't even know who this person is, but this is... You know what? I'm open to it. I'm down to put this fucker. What is it? That shit's crazy. Like quietly disgusting. But I think that, you know, this is a dense category. You know, I'm thinking about it though. We're gonna, you know, we'll do this. Just because I'm not putting a guy I literally just heard of in this list. Okay, I think this is fair. But it's like Relno and then a gap and then everybody else. Let's do Captain Falcon. This guy is pretty easy. We gotta go Wizrobe. We go S2J. And then I think it's probably none. And then this could be Hacks. This could be Isaiah. This could also be some, if we're talking contributions, like low key, this could be Chef Rockman. I'm gonna go with Isaiah. Just for some flavor. I think that putting the guy who disowned Captain Falcon on this list is a little, like as one of the top 4, kind of a bad vibe, but we will put him in the HMs. Look, retiring from the game versus like disowning the character are a little bit different. Yeah, I guess we can also put in the other 20GX guys. Scar as a competitor, no. As a community figure, sure. As a Captain Falcon player, no thank you. All right, Jigglypuff. Easy number, top 3. Top 3 are Hungrybox, Mango, and King. It's the 4th spot where this gets kind of weird. I think the gut feeling, intuitive pick is Prince Abu. SDJ's placed really high. Toussaint was a top level puff for a long time. Tech was kind of CPU 0 before CPU 0. Very rest heavy playstyle, really influential. Can't forget Tech. Alex Puff Stuff is a deep cut. The Alex Puff Stuff blog, really influential to many Puff players and also non-Puff players. I think that you could even argue that Alex is deserving of a spot on here. The deep cut pick, what is it? Killa OR is like a deep cut. First Smash player signed with a team, had an MTV's True Life. This is a good pick, but I think Killa OR makes sense actually. I'm down to put him there, especially because like I think Prince Abu was culturally relevant as like the fluffer for Hungrybox during the HBox dominance era, but not necessarily. He was a great player, but I don't know that he had that same notoriety on his own without the context of Hungrybox. Prince Abu without Hungrybox does not probably end up on this list. Is there an argument to be made that Mango doesn't belong on the list? He was the best player in the world with the character. I think that's pretty hard to argue. All right, so we got Sheik. This is pretty straightforward for a little bit. J-Mook is on this list. Plop is on this list. Mewtwo probably on this list. And then I think after that, this list gets kind of weird because there's a few people. I don't think that any of you guys have said my number 4. Hod TV, big one, big. We will write some HMs in here. Kirby Kaze is an HM. KDJ, I think, is a very strong Sheik player, but I think his competitive legacy a little bit overblown by the documentary. Drug Fox, as a refiner, as like Kirby Kaze II, ends up as an honorable mention. Changed the ways that people think about the character a lot. A shorter competitive career at the top level. Dreffin, just for longevity. Just being around forever, being a high-level competitor forever. He actually innovated a lot of stuff that people still do. He is the Sheik, to the point where I almost feel bad putting him in the HM section. But I also think that AMSA not being on this list as potentially the best player in the world, every time we AMSA tech, that is probably a vote in favor of this guy. Part of me doesn't want to put Mewtwo King on this list because he did most of his heavy lifting with Marth. He was the best Sheik in the world for like a decade, probably. So to not put him on here feels kind of criminal. Yeah, oh, and Hod TV. I forgot Hod. Hod also on here, but let's move back to Peach. I think the first 3 in this one are incredibly simple. Armada, Lod, Lloyd. Cool. Triff. And then number 4. As a Peach main, probably not Wife. Hanky Panky, pretty funny pick, but probably not. I think there's arguments for Court, who was top 5 in 2008, but it was a very weak year. That was the Dark Age of Melee year. I think MacD was the Malachi before his time. Also, you know, not a player we want to necessarily celebrate here. Polish was a top 10 player at peak, but it was a very short peak. I think Sastifer is a pick that people might pick for context. He beat Ken at Tournament Go 6 and in Melee FC 3. Strong old school competitor. Also, Mike G was the name that Ohan was throwing around, and I think that that's actually a pretty good pick. About as old school as they come, he's often credited with having invented Peach. Another Deadly Alliance guy. Dude, Deadly Alliance was like, it's so influential. Like, I know that people know that, but if you don't really know, go take a look at Deadly Alliance and the people in this thing. And it's a list, man. We're going to say Mike G. I think that feels fair. I think that this is our Peach list. Dog what? You don't like the list? Who would you put? Ryo Beat? We'll put Nico here. That is a fair inclusion because of the labbing and the innovation. I'm with you. I get that he is the tech demon of Peach. Samus, Hugs. Is he a big S? I think he's a big S guy, right? Very long career, top player, super influential, big impact on the community. Plop, the highest peaks of Samus. Duck, also a very top level competitor with a lot of longevity. So you guys are saying Morse code. I think Morse code is probably here. I think that his peak competitive career is too short. I think we got another DA player here. We got Wes here from the documentary. But long competitive career, high placing, influential shit, illegal moves. Yeah, I think Wes ought to be there. I think Morse code just doesn't have enough time in the oven. Give him a couple more years. Give him a year of consistent competition. Also because he only periodically shows up. I don't know that his impact on the character and on the game can be felt yet quite as much as like Wes, who's obviously had a ton of influence on the game. The Swooper, no thank you. Good player, not on this list. Next, who are we looking at? We'll do the final character of the old top 8, I guess. Got a couple easy picks. We got Shoodat, got Wobbles, and then probably Fly Amanita. How do you spell it? Like that? Who knows? HMs, I think, there's a Nintendude, top level competitor for a long time. Some of the most iconic moments in Ice Climbers history. We got Nikki, who's probably going to get Ice Climbers rebanned. You've got the influence of the Kish brothers, Kish Prime and Kish Squared, for discovering wobbling. You got Diz Kid, who is the embodiment of a wobbler in the wobbling era. Bananas had high peaks. Infinite Numbers had high peaks. I think, though, that it has to be Slug. Pikachu. First two are almost undeniably Axe and the man in chat, Swift. Here we start getting a little bit more up for debate. There's probably 3 or 4 people who could end up on this list now. Pikachu was another early top 100 competitor with Pikachu. Anther was top 100, also very influential in other spaces in the game, of course, being the creator of Anther's Ladder. Ralph got top 100 recently. OKP, while never being top 100, has had a lot of impact in the competitive space. I think J-Chew, feels like a bright up-and-comer, but I think probably a little bit premature to put him on the list. Shoodat's Pikachu, counterpick against Peach, probably, as deserving as Swift, if you ask me. I think we can safely put Anther here. I think J-Chew will probably end up on this list. I just think it's a little bit too early, but I think he will end up on this list likely. I just think it's premature. He's also never won a top 100 set at a major. I don't know how we're putting that on Mount Rushmore. J-Chew was literally top 100 for having 0 top 100 wins at majors. Yeah, I think that J-Chew's top 100 placement is also premature. OKP was not top 100, but also was most active in the years without top 100s. He beat Spark IRL at what tournament? Yeah, regional. Okay, yeah. So J-Chew will end up on this list probably by the end of this year. But this is not a speculative Mount Rushmore. You don't carve somebody into stone because you think they're going to be good. You do it because they were. So we'll do OKP and we'll put J-Chew here. But I do think J-Chew's probably ending up top there. Donkey Kong. This one's funny because this list has changed a lot in the past couple of years. This is one of the most rapidly developing lists. If we had talked about this list 2 years ago, it would not be the same at all. Right off the bat, we can say Junebug is safely on this list. Bum also safely on this list. But this is where it starts to get strange. Because a couple of years ago, the last 2 people on this list, well, one, Junebug wouldn't have even been on it. But the other people on this list would have definitely been Ringler and Green Ranger. And there even may have been a case for Westball's DK. But now the list is very different. We have Quang, we have Bing, we have Akir. And so we have a decision to make. I think Green Ranger does not end up on this. I think we can safely count out Green Ranger. Ringler, I think, is out of the conversation. Bing is tough because now we have Bing and Akir. Quang has better results. True. I'm down with that. I was a little bit unsure. Yeah, they both do counterpick some stuff. When you have 3 top 50 DKs, I think they have to kind of end up in the conversation, right? The thing about Akir that was a little bit notable, and maybe this is, I'm being hypocritical, he is an online menace in the same way that Jeichu is. The difference being that he also has some in-person wins to back up those results. But I think that Akir is the guy who made like us collectively very aware that DK was on a new rise. But if we are crediting that to Da, I think I'm comfortable with this. DK's only been in the game for 2 years, so I think that this list very subject to change if I'm getting early access. So Luigi has a couple of easy ones. Yeah, we have Eddie, Mexico, long career, still playing, top level Luigi player. We have Abate, one of the strongest Luigi players of all time, right? Very notable. Some of the game's most iconic moments. His invisible ceiling glitch against S2J is pretty fucking crazy, right? We could talk Luigi Master. Voodoo Jin is a good deep cut. I think Plup, unironically, maybe on this list. No, Plup with his CEO Dreamland run is the highest placing Luigi pick in the game. I think Plup actually does deserve an HM. I think Mad Tyro has had a weirdly strong influence on the character. They're not ordered, but I think Abate and Eddie are 1 and 2. And I think that there's a good chance that Rat Monster ends up on this list when all is said and done. I think Rat Monster is going to have very high peaks as a player, but for sure is not on this list currently. But I think this is it. I think that Ganon, true. We all know how Ganon works. We cannot do a good Ganon list without some band players. Ganondorf. We've got Hage, the warrior, notably beat Mango one time. Classic old school Ganon. Kind of like one of the easiest picks on this list you could have. This is already where we're starting to get weird. We're going to say Eddie. I think if anybody goes on this list, it's Eddie. Old school Ganon player. He beat Ken in a money match, which I guess is a big point. Pro player, plays 5th at EVO 2007. He has to be on this list. I think he's an easy pick. Okay. I unfortunately think we're going to have to